Welcome to Hermit Woods, where there's a story in every bottle. Not talking to the audience. We're just doing our thing on the side and totally ignoring. Where did you come up with that? I have no idea. It just popped out of my brain.
Well, what about having a really good intro? I mean, where we had really canned things.
Speaking of intros, sometimes we just sort of doing things. You know, you might think that, but we might not be. We're live. All I know is that, and we didn't waste any time. Hard cider in our glasses.
Yeah.
Cheers, everybody. Greetings, everybody.
Welcome.
Awesome. Yet another Monday with the Hermit. Howard Stern.
Howard Stern. Howard Stern.
Come from?
No, I think we're
one of my least favorite talk show hosts on the planet.
I think we're up there with Smartless.
With what?
Smartless.
What's that? Smartless.
Any podcast aficionado is going to know Smartless.
Well, I guess I'm not a podcast. We'll leave it up to you folks. Anybody? So what are we going to talk? So today we have a special guest. We're really excited. Our guest is Hermit Woods Hard Cider.
The Hermit himself?
The Hermit Woods Hard Cider.
The Hermit himself is here?
He's going to show up. He's floating around. That would be a small miracle. Actually, I'd love to know who created this awesome label. That's our guest. That's the guest?
No way.
Yes. Oh, how did I guess that? That's awesome.
Somebody conjured the image
that's
of the out of the ether. The Hermit.
Out of the ether, yes, because nobody knew what the Hermit was before photography. I think it's out of the ethanol. Nobody knew what the Hermit really looked like.
Out of the ethanol.
Out of the ethanol. That's a variation on
Before man, there was ethanol.
Oh, we're already slipping. We've only had half a bottle. We'll get through this. I know. Don't you worry, folks. Don't you worry. There'll be some content here.
Right.
We have Deb Lucke with us. Deb Lucke is the designer of all of the labels that you see in front of you here, and we're really excited to talk to her, learn a little bit about her background and how she came to be the designer of our labels. And so I'm really excited to introduce her to you. Before I do that, though, I'm going to step over to the camera just to make sure I check in with everybody and go through the normal business routine. But folks, most of you on here already know this, if not all of you. But if you like our show, please like it, share it with your friends if you have some friends who you think would enjoy this content, and please subscribe over here if you're on YouTube, and the little bell on Facebook. I know it's practice makes perfect. So if you subscribe, you'll get notifications when we go live. And as you know, we go live from all different kinds of places and sailboats and triple bicycles. And,
let's go on the sailboat.
Sailboat, that's a good idea.
We'll do it Friday.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
So check in, subscribe, so you'll know when we're out on the boat next week. So anyway, and if you're with us, please make a comment, say something in the or ask a question in the comment section so that we know you're there. And if we can, we'll answer your questions live and include you in the conversation. So I just want to say hello to a few people. Matt's here. Great to see you, Matt.
Excellent.
And look, Chuck's here.
Oh, Chuck's here.
There he is. He's here in person, in the flesh.
Yeah.
From traveling, God, you've been bouncing around the globe.
Yeah, I was in San Juan yesterday.
Oh my
So there and
God.
back.
So anyway, Chuck's here. Janice is here, and Christine and Teresa.
All right.
And she loved the triple bike. Yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot more on that triple bike, Teresa. So you just wait and see. Stay tuned.
The new cluster.
We have some fun adventures. Thanks to Matt. Matt is the reason we have a triple bike. So all right, enough of this. Again, tune in if you have any questions. I'm going to cut back to the other screen, and then I'm going to introduce you to Deb Lucke. So Deb Lucke actually knew my father long before I knew Deb. My father was in the design business, and actually, I didn't know this, but my father was Deb's advisor when he was teaching at UConn.
She was a student.
Yeah. And I knew she was a student. I didn't know that he was her advisor. So that was a nice piece of information I just learned. And so they knew each other for many years before I got to know Deb. And as some of you may know, my father passed away in 1994. And there's a scholarship fund and an anniversary gathering for my father about 10 years after he died.
Yeah.
I got a chance to meet Deb. I had met her before, but just briefly, and many years ago. But we met at this memorial for my father, and
This
she
is
learned.
before we had the winery, right?
This is this is just after we had
I
the
remember
winery.
when you went down.
2011, 2012.
Rhode Island somewhere, right?
It was in Boston.
I was in Boston.
Yeah. And I got a chance to chat with Deb, and she learned that I owned a winery. I was partners in a winery. So I told her all about Hermit Woods, and she said, as we were leaving that night, she said, "Boy, I always wanted to design a label for a wine bottle." And I said, "Well, I'll put that in my head. We might be able to make something happen." And sure enough, it wasn't but a couple years later when we launched our cider products.
That was 2015.
2015
was the first vintage commercially of this. We had been making hard cider
Yes.
over at the Zimmers and elsewhere in our yard, and this was the first commercial one.
Right.
And we needed a label.
We needed a label, and I thought, I've seen Deb's work. I love her style. I thought this would just nail it for our cider. So we called her up, and she said she'd be happy to work with us, and off we went. So I'm going to introduce you to Deb Lucke. I'm going to bring her on, and
Are you going to switch screens?
Hello,
Or-
guys.
Okay, here we go.
let's see. We're going to get the right screen again here. Here we go. That's not the right screen. That's the right one.
Bring her.
There we go.
There we go.
Hi.
I have to see which picture to look at, right?
We'll keep moving you around. It's a test.
Yeah.
It's like the Rorschach test or something. I don't know. So I hope do you have something to drink with you? I know cider is a problem.
Water, sadly.
Just water. Okay.
Water.
All right.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Cheers to that. Yeah.
So and I meant to mention, I'm gonna put the other screen up here. Let's see. I wanted to show everybody. This is Deb's book. She probably has a copy in front of her, but Deb is a children's book author, and she has a series that she's done called The Lunch Witch. She's going to tell us all about that, but I wanted to show you that book. So Deb, why don't you just get us caught up? So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and how you got to be where you're at today.
Okay. Well, originally I was from New England, but I was raised in Ohio with my father's side of the family, and was not artistic there at all. But I did have a whole lot of elderly farm lady aunts, and that's really what influenced me to do a book about a very sturdy looking witch. And let's see. So that I did that, and then I was at school in Connecticut, and that's where I was a student of your father's, and then I worked as a designer, and I was really interested in packaging then. And I did a bit for. Do you remember Erewhon?
Erewhon. It rings a bell, but I don't.
Natural foods market, and they had their own labels, and I think it's in California only now. But so I did a bunch of packaging for that. I think I did some for like tape for a nuclear power plant when it leaks.
That must have been fun.
It was a very small little
I
company.
want to get some of that.
On every project. Anyhow, I had fun doing that stuff. I think I did a jam. And then I went into advertising. I worked in advertising a long time, and I didn't get to do that anymore. So when I started getting back more into doing design and drawing for a living with the books, I was trying to find the right place that I could do packaging with. So this has worked out so well for me.
So when along that path did you end up working actually for my dad's company?
About 10 years out of school, I guess.
After your packaging?
Yeah, so I'd already done, I worked as a designer, and he was really kind of an ad guy.
Yep.
And so when I went out and worked in the world, I realized, I'm really trained more to think like an advertising person. So I ended up going into ad agencies versus design studios.
Okay.
And also a lot of design at that time was very technical, which
Yep.
I did not learn to be technical in school. So I was my skills were lacking in the using ruling pen, X-Acto knife type thing.
When you actually did have to actually cut and paste.
Back in those days, yes. Actually, it was a funny story because I'd only been there 2 weeks at my first job, and they were like, okay, well, we were going to fire you, but everything you've done so far is sold. So then my boss did, my boss did the mechanicals, and I did the ideas for a while. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but anyhow, after years in advertising, I just wanted to do more creative things, and so that's when I took the big leap.
So you I think that's when you said you moved to New York?
I worked in New York in advertising for a while. I did all the advertising for American Express.
Oh, okay.
So I got to travel actually quite a bit around the world, doing these big, giant $1 million commercials, but mostly of restaurants. And Harry's Bar was the most fun in Venice.
Wow. Harry, have you been to Harry's Bar, Chuck? Yeah, I know you've been to Venice.
No, I haven't.
Is it still open?
It is, although I did hear a rumor that Harry might be going to jail for tax evasion, but so anyhow, that was I did a lot of that, and then I freelanced for a while, and then I started writing books on the side because I had time off when I was freelancing.
So when did you write The Lunch Witch?
And that's when I did The Lunch Witch. And it
What
did
year
very
was
well in the critical reviews, the wrong side.
Yep.
And now they're making it into a movie
2015.
with Kate McKinnon to play the Lunch Witch. And I hope she's more like my old great aunts and not as skinny as she really is in real life.
Have they seen this caricature?
Oh, yes.
I think so.
And they still talk to you because I mean a lunch witch.
I don't know if they're talking
these are
to me at the
foundational
moment.
people.
I was having long conversations with them, but I'm not sure if they liked my last suggestion, which involved paying me more. So
I like that suggestion. Sounds like a good idea to me.
yeah. No, it is very interesting because I did a little film work, so I'm very interested to see how they develop it. But
Do you have an idea when it's going to come out?
I don't know if these dates are ever real. They told me they were going to film it in the spring.
Okay.
So
Now,
that's
is the voice is over is by Tom Hanks?
yeah,
What
no,
we heard?
it's live action.
Oh, it's live action. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I can't wait. I mean, I just like we talked last time when they turned the Archie comic strip into a live action series. That was
Wow.
when they did that, I was like, wow, really?
Wow. Yeah.
But they did, and it's turned into a huge success. I think they're in their third or fourth series or something like that.
That's right.
Well, I hope it's a huge success. We'll see.
I hope so too. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, and then I also do comics journalism, which nobody knows what that is, but it's essentially I do straight reporting and then I draw it.
Yeah.
It's
And-
interesting. I've seen some of the stuff you've posted. Do you have
Yeah.
anything that you did recently that in front
Well,
of you?
can you see on the wall? This is something.
Yeah.
This is actually two different drawings from a thing I did where I'm sorry, I'm leaning the wrong way.
You got it.
Despair is an art form.
Yeah, this was from I covered an Edward Gorey show. I keep doing it backwards. Okay, there you go. Yeah, it was from an art show from Edward Gorey, and I made up this story. I mean, events didn't happen exactly, but I did this whole thing where the furnace blew up, which it did blow up, but that because I was in a bad mood, I went to the show.
Well, it's okay. A lot of reporters take creative license these days,
Yes,
so you're just
yeah.
fitting right in with the
Right. So
journalistic-
then I went to the show, and actually, I think you have another one that's from an image that's from the same comic.
One of the shared screens that I put up.
Yeah.
Let me
The
pull that
first
up.
image.
I'll pull that up. Hold on.
Up near the top now, yeah.
All right, hold on. Here we go.
Yeah, that's it. That's another one from the same image, and that was in the New Yorker.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
So I spun a whole story about going there and seeing people that reminded me of his drawings.
Shows up, so she's still on.
What's that one?
This one is actually it was also for the New Yorker, but they ended up not running it because it had a political bent. It was
How
about
would the New Yorker run that?
well, unfortunately, the events coincided with January 6th, but it was the storyline was that the year of the rat refused to step down for the year of the ox to come in for Chinese New Year. I did this in advance of anything happening because it takes me like a month to do it. I swear to God, I did. I just had I had a feeling, but I did. Then it was so much worse. Couldn't make jokes. So, and then I do things for the. Actually, I have some over here. Hold on. Let's see if I can get back far enough that you can see. Can you see these at all?
Yeah. Go back a little further.
This is another one I did for, there's a very fancy art museum here. I'm I'm very backward when it comes to spatial orientation.
No, that's good. That works.
So this is one of the Louise Bourgeois spiders, but it's at a museum. And the headline says, it was a kinetic day at Dia Beacon. And then all those people were there, and I interviewed them, and I went around. And then
That's a great idea. So is this-
about tree houses. Here's one that was about this clown group that they did sort of that French-like clown thing.
Yeah.
They were married, so I made the story all about their relationship, which was kind of funny.
So is anybody else doing cartoon journalism?
There are people. I'm really bad at this. there are people who do this, but it's rare. I mean, I actually just saw right before I logged on that they're having a symposium in Eugene, Oregon, and I was like, maybe I should go because I want to find more people to sell my ideas to and see where they're selling theirs.
Yeah.
It started off as a kind of thing where I think it was this guy Joe Sacco who's going to be on this talk in Eugene, Oregon. But people would go and they would cover war and they would draw it. And they were kind of building off of this idea of, maybe you'd seen even in World War I. I think there were certain cartoon characters that were being drawn.
Actually, pre-photography, when a lot of journalism was done with drawings, if you go back to the 17 and 1800s, a lot of journalism was done that way.
And I'm very interested. I really like the work of Daumier, the French artist who went and certainly did a lot of things that were very much, he always drew the fat king as a pear with a big butt, little tiny top torso, and was a real glutton. And he went to jail for it for a while. But later on, he did a lot of stuff with, going around and observing what was going on with the lower classes and regular people. And I was always a big fan of that work. It was very good capturing, just the way a mother would hold a tissue for a kid to sneeze into it, that kind of thing. So I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. So I enjoy going to these events and just sort of watching people and drawing them.
So this was a reenactment. And so I got to interview all the military guys that did it and everything. But what was funny was they made us be the British. Paul and I, we got caught. I don't know if you can see in the middle. We got caught up in it, and they attacked us here. We had to play the British part, which was funny because Paul's British. But it was. So this is kind of a nice segue because you actually did some journalism in the creation of our label. Right, because the Hermit is a real character.
So you had to sort of team as a real person now.
Yeah, so you had to.
Yeah, and I think you've created this persona now from the little write-ups on the back of every label.
Yeah,
we've learned who the Hermit actually is and what his outlook is on life and people and blueberries and critters and firewood and kittens and all this stuff. It's amazing, Deb. You've taken this historic character and crafted this persona, this person, this character.
So this is the image on the screen is the first rendition of the Hermit that you came up with, and I actually really like this one, but we learned that it was too tall for the bottle.
It wouldn't fit on the bottle.
This shows that I hadn't been doing packaging for.
But it carries so much stature.
Yeah.
Like the shape of the shoe, the hand behind his back. It's the thin, hat line there. I love the style of it.
Yeah.
Is it true that this image came out of the ethanol in the ether? Ether. In the universe. I mean, how did you conjure this image? Is this sort of appear to you as you started drawing, or what was the
gave me all that biographical information about the Hermit, which I love that. I mean, I love creating characters. That's my most favorite thing. And I think I looked at historical pictures of, people from that period in New Hampshire. And I got ideas, and I looked at the costuming and stuff, what people wore. Well, it wasn't costumes for them, but and the hat in particular was kind of a key figure thing for me. But the stories that you gave me, he was a young man in all of those. So I was drawing him as a young man early on. In fact, I looked back at some of my drawings, and I don't know if you remember that. I had one where he was fat, and he had his back to us, which I thought was a funny joke. Like he was.
It is funny. I like that.
So, how did you come up with so on the label it says firewood and kittens.
Also for sale.
Also for sale. So where did that come from? Because I didn't have anything to do with that.
I grew up in Cincinnati on my grandfather's farm, and I already said there were like these these farm wives that were my relatives. Well, it wasn't that unusual at that time, even though it was a big metropolis. Where we were was very, very rural, and there were like people that would post these signs on their property and go on at great lengths. And there was somebody who constantly had, I believe, free bunnies and kittens. And
So you started.
it just came out in my mind that, you know, you see these people and they seem like they're like they're hiding up in the woods somewhere, but they're communicating with the public through signage.
You
So
really
that just
nailed
stuck
it.
to my head.
You
But
nailed it because you really nailed it because in New Hampshire, in fact, a very specific spot you may remember up on Sandwich Notch Road, as you're heading up at one point. I don't know if it's still there, but there was a property that had all the no trespassing signs and
Oh, really?
and on the left hand side as you're going up, and the
From the Sandwich side, heading west?
yeah, from the Sandwich side. So, and all through the woods, along with the no trespassing signs, were things just like this.
Other
Things
little
for
phrases.
sale,
Yeah.
comments about society, opinions. I don't know if kittens or firewood for sale, but again, little wooden signs nailed to the tree with messages from the guy or person who lived in that forest. And so it was. So when
he
you came
did
up with
sell
this-
firewood, I believe, in real life, didn't he? I think he did.
Yeah. And actually, I think the story goes, the hermit did actually make cider too.
Yeah.
It was one of the ways in which
I'm sure he did.
one of the ways he profited, he funded himself because he really did live out in the middle of nowhere and he needed a resource to buy supplies and things like that. So
And also, you think of all those, like, you know, fruit stands and things where people, they leave like a basket, you know, they were the complicated instructions sometimes of how to pay. I just found I found it amusing to think about what he was like.
yeah, and I don't know if you remember in his story, one of the things he was known for is he would weigh people.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He had a scale.
Yeah,
He invented a scale that was people-sized, and he could weigh people, and he made money. People would come and get weighed. But also on his property there was the front door to the house was several feet above the sill.
Right.
Yeah.
So you couldn't easily get into his house, and he could pull the ladder up, and you couldn't get in.
Yeah,
So and he had like a trap door or something.
Right. It wasn't easy to get into his
It's a
place.
trap
So
door or
he
something,
was
yeah.
he was afraid of.
Yeah, it's a
dealing
great
with
story.
people.
The story's on our website. If anybody wants to read it, it's posted on the About section. There's a page called the About the Hermit. So you can.
But
go
you know, I think Deb has created the new hermit with the little
The new
stories
persona.
on the back of these labels.
Yeah,
That's what I love.
so you can.
This hard cider makes a fine companion when you want to sit on a stump in the woods alone. Its lively blend of heirloom sharps goes just right with fresh air and lots of thinking to do. More sociable types are free to raise a glass with whatever wildlife you choose.
Yep.
The hermit.
Yeah.
I love it. It's great.
You know, this might be a special moment, Deb. I think I just have a great idea. I think we need
Oh, the hermit witch.
a book.
The hermit.
A book about the hermit.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I
We
would
need
so
Yeah.
fascinated.
A graphic novel.
Oh,
You what?
a
And you
graphic
know, I like
novel with
doing
the
sort
hermit.
of solitary, angry people. That's my thing.
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
This is your guy.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is the guy.
You've got the story.
Oh, there's a story.
It's all here.
Pages and pages of story about this guy. You've
Yeah.
got the story. You've got to bring him to life. We got to work together on this. We've got to make
Yeah.
your
I would
the
love
next
that.
book. And
Yeah.
then we'll-
Some folk just say no. I love all these little
Yeah.
phrases. It
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
captures this guy.
no, you've actually got part of the book written here
It's
with
all
all of
written.
the.
It's
It's on the
right there.
back of what 7? We've got a total. I think you've done of 6 or 7 cider labels so far.
Well, and
Right?
I always gave you multiple ideas, so there was lots of storylines that didn't get developed.
Lots of storyline. Yeah. No, we need to bring this guy to life, and then a couple of years later, we need to turn it into a live action series. Do
There you
know Did you know that Bob
Tom
Montana?
Hanks can play the movie.
And Tom Hanks, we're getting Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks will play the Hermit.
eventually. Yes.
Did you know that Bob
All right,
Montana?
I'm opening up more cider.
While he's doing that, Bob Montana, is the creator of Archie, right?
Okay, yeah.
Well, if you didn't, you do now. He's the creator of Archie, and he lived in Meredith for 40 years. And he was intrigued by the Hermit as well. And he wanted he wanted to become a filmmaker. He was very serious about getting out of the comic book business and becoming a movie maker. And he made several movies, basically small, probably Super 8 or 16. And two of his movies are in the Meredith Library, and one of them is a movie about the Hermit. It's a live action film.
Cool.
The next vintage.
Yeah, it's really, you can rent it here in the library. Take it out and watch it. Next time you're in town, we gotta bring them. Actually, we should have them.
That's so interesting. Well, maybe his family would let you play it once in a while at the
I love this. I love this.
cider night.
Great.
I bet they would. I mean, it's at the library that you can take it out and play it at home anytime you want. That's a great idea.
People want
I
to learn
like
about the history of the Hermit. They
also
just come
that you
here.
guys did that event when you launched this with the 3 kittens and the firewood. That was so brilliant.
Well, you prompted that. So when you put firewood and kittens on the label, when we said, well, we've got to do something with that, so it turned into a whole deal. We ended up having, as many of you probably already know, we had firewood on the deck, and we had the Humane Society come over with a whole bunch of kittens, and we didn't sell any firewood.
No firewood.
No.
I brought that from my wood pile out back, and then I took it back home again.
Yeah,
It was like $10 a stick.
yeah, something like
Something
that.
It didn't work.
The cider was a much better deal.
The cider was a better deal, and the kittens.
And the
People love the
kittens.
kittens and the cats.
We found
That's
homes
how I got
for
to Pinot Noir too.
yeah. Well, they
how
were
we got-
kittens.
I know.
So we found homes for about a dozen kittens that day, that first
That's a
day.
wonderful thing.
And yeah, and 2 of them were Pinot Noir that live now. They were winery cats for a while. Now they're at my house, but most people know who Pinot Noir is by now. And now 5% of the sale of firewood and kittens, or what we call it kittens. Whenever we say
We call this is just
when
kittens.
we
That's
want a cider, the original cider, we just say, well, let's have kittens tonight, because that's
it's still kittens. But that started right out of the gate, Bob. I think you came up with that concept that let's interface with the New Hampshire Humane Society.
yeah.
Let's donate 5% of all the sales, and we present them a check every year.
Yeah.
And it's really been beneficial to them. And
thousands of dollars have been
Yeah.
raised in the last 5 years to find homes for kittens. So you
Oh.
started that, Deb. We didn't
So
plan that.
wonderful.
Yeah, we had no idea that was coming, but
that's
here
great.
it is.
Does New Hampshire have a lot of feral cats?
I don't know. There's a problem with kittens. They have every June, and I don't know. There's a season for kittens? It truly is. Every June is, if you ever want a kitten, go look for kittens in June. Because if you look for them in September, or October, you're probably not going to find any.
Well, my friend that lives in New Hampshire has a whole bunch of cats that were feral that she found as kittens. And then the next June, I think it was, there were more from the same parents. Was she finally?
They're very seasonal. I don't know
It
what
was
that's
from Lake
about.
Winnipesaukee too. It's when she had the cabin in what's the other town? Acton?
Alton.
Alton.
Alton?
That's it. Yeah.
Alton, yeah.
There were feral cats in Alton.
So let me check in just for a sec with my with our guest to see if anybody's made any comments or has any questions. Matt's working on an articulated trike for 4.
That sounds really dangerous.
That sounds like a lot of trouble.
I hope there's some alcohol involved.
He pulled it out of the ethanol.
Yes, there you
And
go.
Janice says, to be artistically inclined, love the labels you have created. And listening to you, Artsy Avenue.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh,
Is that like my journey?
created.
I met Janice down when I was down picking what are they
Rose
called?
hips.
Rose hips, yeah, down in Rye.
she was riding.
She had my Hermit
That wasn't
t-shirt on.
Janice. No, that was
No, that was Patricia.
Patricia.
Oh, that's Patricia.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I met Janice Sullivan somewhere else then.
So I'm going to go back to the screen share here and
Yeah, show some of this great artwork.
show you. So after we did the cider label,
So
And this is-
here's the full rendition.
here's
Gotta
the
show
final-
that.
yeah, the
because
final label.
this fit on the bottle And I think it works really well too. And that is really the look of the Hermit. All of it has this hunchback, bent over cane, long beard. I mean, you transformed him a lot from that first concept, the Puritan upright person that was before.
I think it's better. It's funny how, I've tried when there's a problem with a design or an idea, I try and make it better.
Well, you know what I think you did? We talked about this too.
Yeah.
And this first design, as much as I love it, it doesn't speak as much to me of somebody this is somebody who's very proud and somebody who's very sure of themselves. And I think our Hermit might not have been so much those things.
He looks a little more reclusive.
That guy is just making it. He's just making it through the day. He's, he's weighing people or whatever, and he's creating trapdoors to keep people away. I'm not quite sure.
I don't think you really want to hang out. I don't think you want to hang out with him.
No, he doesn't want to hang out with him.
He does not want to hang out. Yeah. No way.
So after the Hermit, we went on to do, like I said, six? Is it 6 different ciders?
I think it's 5.
5
so
total?
I think we did
With the reserve.
the kittens, the reserve, the blueberry cider,
It's 6.
the cranberry cider, and then the wild blue.
So it's 6.
So that's 5.
No.
Oh,
Regular, reserve, blueberry, cranberry, and
crab apple.
Crab apple.
is
Crab
6.
apple.
yeah, there's 6.
Crab apple.
It's 6.
It's 6.
Yes.
Yeah, crab apple.
You're correct.
Crab apple's so
I
good.
forget.
So six more labels and 5
6 stories.
5 more stories to add to the Hermit.
That's
So
which one? Yeah.
my favorite. Do we have wild blue here? That's one of your favorite. That was great. You nailed the wild blue story better than anyone. I don't think we have wild blue here.
What?
Oh yeah, we do. Here it is. Here it is. So pruned this way, trimmed that way, lined up in rows, and pressured to conform. Some berries and some folk just say no. Wild Maine low bush blueberries grow wherever they want. They sprawl across the barrens, mutating into thousands of varieties, getting more and more colorful and flavorful, which is why I put 2 pounds of the little oddballs into every bottle.
I love it because you're taking the facts about wild blueberries and what a unique fruit that is, and that's what this particular product is all about. And yet you're aligning the Hermit and then the Hermit mindset to these wild blueberries, to these oddballs. Just that word makes that all come together. It's true.
And it's as you said, it's journalism. I mean, you were telling the story. You told some real facts about wild blueberries and how they grow. The fact that the berry divides into they don't conform.
They grow in these mats that intersperse and
they have thousands of mutating into thousands of varieties. I mean, this is journalism. You're telling the story of the blueberry. It's fantastic. All of these.
There's a story in the bottle and a story
on the bottle.
On the bottle.
Yeah.
There's a story on every bottle of cider.
So I'm not going to read them all because I'm going to encourage all of you out there who have not read the stories on our ciders to next time you come into the winery to pick up the ciders and peruse the stories because they're a lot of fun. And soon there's going to be a book. It's going to tell. It's going to be.
I like the book.
I'm going to hold you to that.
When do we start? What do you mean, hold me to it? Let's go. Let's do it. That's the idea that was born tonight. Let's do it. I think it's brilliant. I love it too.
So Chuck wants to talk about something else.
I want to talk about this.
Okay. So after we had all this success with the bottles, we decided last year, or 2 years ago, that we were going to put some of our products in cans.
We started with the cranberry.
Yeah, Chuck's jumping ahead because he's just so thirsty.
Because this is Dogo.
We actually did these at the same time.
We did?
Yes, we did.
The first batch.
The first batch was Dogo.
We did.
So it's okay.
Yep.
So let's start with because I have the
graphic novel idea.
The graphic idea.
Right,
so I'm going to go back to the screen, Deb, and you can tell everybody a little bit about the ideas because you've shared with us I gotta first switch to the screen mode. Oop. There we go. And
Well, you got one more. The next picture there.
yeah, no, I
in
know.
your scroll.
I'm gonna go to that. Okay,
That guy.
this guy.
That one.
So this is.
Look at that thing. That's just riotous. I love it.
I love it. Yeah. So the fun thing was
Sin and Garden of Eden.
when we started coming up with the can idea. I remember you presented us with, I don't know, half a dozen or more different ways in which we might solve this problem. And so tell us about some of these ways, what your thinking was.
For the can.
Yeah.
Well,
this is
yes. So I was, first of all, I think as soon as something's in a can, it's inherently fun is going to be the first thing. It's just hard to be terribly serious when you're in a can. So I
never imagined what it would be like to be in a
I don't
can.
know. I know. I've never actually been in a can. You've been in a can.
I've been in a can.
Yeah.
I've been in a tank. I've been in a dumbwaiter. I've been all over the place.
Every time I see Ken in a can, he's got a big smile on his face. So I think you're right.
It's nice being in a can. Just letting you know. The ethanol is excellent.
Well, just assuming, if you were in a bottle, you have to be constantly aware that you might break and you have to be, kind of upright and stuff, whereas a can can just roll around and take you places.
Go on the boat.
Depends on the can. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had this idea that it could go on boats and things. So I just like the idea of having the type be very dominant and that he was on this rant. But as often these hermits are, that the trespassers will be proselytized, because I read in the thing that he would go out and read Bible verses to people. I don't know, it was funny to me. And also, I don't know
That's true. That's an activist.
Yeah.
That's an activist hermit.
There's so much there.
I don't know if I've ever seen a can in a store that was all handwritten type like that. I have since seen one.
That would just fly off the shelves. Just that.
Well,
Everybody want one of those. We should make a poster like that.
I also like, see how his bottle is reversed out of his body? I like that.
Yeah.
Judge.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this is what I saw on the Sandwich Notch Road. This is the stuff
like this.
This is the stuff that he was putting on his trees up there. So let's go to the next one here. It's pretty clear, that one. That's the beginning of the finished one, right?
Yeah.
Right. Trying to keep the subject matter more to the foreground, but still have the hermit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Greeking.
I think this is just, the text here is just fake text to give us an idea, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's called Greeking. Yeah.
Yep.
This is Greeking.
Here he is being worried somebody's trespassing. It says, I hope that's not company.
Oh, this is so the hermit. Oh, I cannot wait till we make the book.
Look at this.
Here he is with his best friend.
Yeah, there's all this girl.
His best friend.
Yeah. And there's the story. Where's the one that tells the story about sitting on the that's
On
the
the stump.
reserve.
That's the
I think
first
that's
one,
the reserve.
I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's the first
Well, you're
one.
sitting on a stump with
kittens, yeah, communing with
when you
wildlife.
want to sit on a stump
There you go.
in the woods
Yeah,
alone.
Yeah.
I just like, when I start these things, I do like a whole notebook full of drawings and just see where it goes. This was an idea of trying, I think it was your idea to do it as a comic. So I started to try and do an all, visual comic, and it was supposed to be about him sort of hiding in the woods and selling it to people. Once again, a lot of it was from the stories, but I kind of liked it. It's a little bit like Spy versus Spy.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Right. But
Like a little Amish buggy down there.
Yeah.
right. But I think it's
And
going to
all
be. It
drop.
was kind of too detailed, really, for the size of the can. Too little.
Yeah.
When you do the book, you're going to get to have some fun. Remember the part of the story where he's wooing the girl, the daughter of
Yes.
one of the
Yes.
He
I think
sneaks into her bedroom.
I think I tried to get you to do another product called Besotted. Do you remember that?
Wait a minute. Say that again.
I think I tried to get you to do another product called Besotted that was about that. About the
You
girls.
did, yeah.
The girls' point of view.
Besotted. I don't know. Don't hold your breath on that one. I don't know. Let's see.
How about unrequited?
How about this
I think
one?
it's a good motivator for sad people who want to drink.
I love this. This is a little, graphic novel telling us about how you make the cider too in the corner.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
I
that
love it laying down under the barrel spigot.
we started out that way. Remember putting the funnel in my mouth on top of the bar? Isn't that like our first Christmas card?
That's Christmas
Yeah,
card.
that's right.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Pouring wine into
Yeah.
I'd much rather drink it out of a barrel like
Back
that.
when we had that huge glass
looks
too.
great.
That was
Oh yeah,
That's a duplicate. Okay, so here's the final label.
So here we go.
This is
Here's the final label.
the black and white version, and then the final, the color version. You put a little.
Yes, and this is him picking an apple and rolling downhill into a bog and coming up with the idea of cranberry apple cider.
It's brilliant. Again, it's journalism.
It is.
You're telling the story. That's great.
Every can has a story on it.
So shortly after the cider can is when we actually right after we did it at the same time.
We did it at the same time, so we had to come up with Dolgo.
Dolgo. So we should go to Dolgo now.
Yeah, because we processed those. We hired the mobile canning company to come in, and we had created a very popular wine out of Dolgo crab apples, our heirloom crab apple wine. And we have it both as in a still version and the sparkling version in a bottle. Mm-hmm. And we thought, wow, let's put this in a can. Mm-hmm. Put it in a can. So this is where Deb came up with a number of different concepts for this wine. A little more sophisticated. It's not tied to the Hermit whatsoever. So it's a separate entity. It's new terrain, really. It's new territory for creativity.
Yeah, and that was kind of fun. And I wish we had the time. We don't. But I mean, there were lots of variations on Dolgo before we got to this one.
And the rosé.
And actually, I think
and the PB.
Yeah, and I think this one is actually slightly different from the final version. I picked the wrong one.
Yeah, the trees are more
more
tighter.
flower.
More flowers.
But I remember the conversation around this label, and we wanted, this was coming into a sparkling wine, which was our version of a champagne, if you will. And so we wanted it to be a little more distinctive. We wanted it to be a little less playful and more formal. And again, Deb, you approached this from the storytelling standpoint. You did some research about the Dolgo crab apple and the history, and that fed into your design. Just tell us a little bit about what that was about.
Well, as I recall, it's that an awful lot of fruit from trees all comes from one particular valley. Do you remember the name, Bob?
Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
It's in Kazakhstan.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know the valley.
the trees sort of evolved there, and they thought, and also so did the horse, I believe. I tried to do labels with horses, but I was like, this is a long story. But it was like, the horses, and there were a lot of creatures there, like deer and stuff, that would pick the fruit off the trees, and eat it, and then deposit it elsewhere, and they all evolved and transported there, and then humans started using them as food, right? And
when the deer were eating, the deer were getting a buzz just like we like to get a buzz off of the cider too. So the fruit actually ferments on the tree, so the deer is inspired to eat that fermented fruit, just like we're inspired to have some cider right now.
Oh yeah. So we love being inspired.
So sorry for the interruption. So
the trees spread along the Silk Route into Rome, and actually I kind of think that I didn't do it exactly on purpose. Maybe I did, but it looks a lot like a Roman wall painting. And
Oh, wow.
there were a lot
I
of
get that.
apples were really,
It'll be done in
really
mosaic.
heavy in the Roman culture. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and just that you had mentioned not just the Roman, but you had mentioned the style sort of coming from the Middle East or from
Yes, that's
from that,
right. Yeah.
that part of the world.
Yeah.
You had done some research into some of the artistic style, and artistically you were trying to capture some of that, and I think you did, and even
That's
better
what I
in
think
the final
yeah,
label.
the final one. It has that Eastern flair to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, like the Persian miniatures. Yeah.
Told the story of the Dolgo again in the can, and then it's written on it. The story of this wine begins far away in an ancient forest where the apple came to be. Offspring of those early apples made their way to Siberia. From there, this variety of crabapple traveled to South Dakota and eventually to New Hampshire. Our vintner found it there, flowering happily in the front yard. You could say it was destined to end up in your glass.
Wow.
Once again, a nice
Or
story.
in your can or on your
telling-
sailboat.
Yes, or
Right.
your sailboat. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
But no Russians. No Russians in there.
There will be a sailboat, I think, with a sail.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
With
Oh,
a-
no, this would name my sailboat Dolgo. I'm going to make a flag out of this.
I'm sorry, Chuck. I forgot to give you the typeface. I got to do that.
Yeah, we can catch up on that. Nothing happens overnight around here, in my world.
I don't know. I think maybe some point in the future we have to consider that concept of maybe Deb designing the sail.
A sail.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. A mainsail, jib, and then a spinnaker.
Oh,
Yeah, the spinnaker.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
a Deb Lucke piece sailing down the broads of
There you go.
the
Everywhere.
Penobscot
Just
Bay?
broads
or
of
the-
everywhere.
So,
I
so
actually
we
know somebody who did a whole art exhibit with red sails at the Venice Biennale. That would be fun.
Oh, who's the
we
guy
should
who
do an
did
art
the?
exhibit here of her work and pour all
Yeah,
this
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
at the same time.
That's a good
Oh,
idea.
yeah.
That'd be fun.
Well, we'll do that at the book release.
At the book release.
That's right.
That's right. We got more wall
We got-
space.
yeah. So, I was thinking when you said sails, too, the other artist, Christo, who did stuff
Oh, yeah.
with sails,
He did
and
that,
wrapping things, and so that's our Dolgo. Let's go back here and then, so after Dolgo, we moved on to, here was a fun one, and I really should have shown all of the variations of this. This was the label you created for Petite Blue, and we went through a whole series of gyrations trying to figure out how to get to this, and we started with something much more traditional, or at least that was my poor idea of how it should go. But you educated me and the rest of us to get us to think a little bit outside the box, or should I say outside the can, and we came up with something that's dramatically different from what our actual.
And I must tell you, Deb, when we brought in the mobile canning line and to do this next run of both the sparkling rosé and the Petite Blue. And the Petite Blue is a still wine, so it's not carbonated. And so to make the can rigid, they dose it with liquid nitrogen so that it doesn't carbonate, but it makes the can solid once the liquid goes in there. And the group that was running this off, they said, a baby? How did you get the federal government to approve a baby on a label for alcohol? Because they had seen other breweries that had tried to put a young person on a label, and that was not allowed whatsoever. But
Well, I
we got this
looked to
approved,
see,
and-
now that I've forgotten it, but now that you say that, I did look to see if there were any others out there, and I found some. They
yeah, and
were
we
probably
got this approved.
usually the children of the, people that were on the winery, but there were some really funny ones, actually. But And I don't know how many people
Yeah.
they were actually selling them to, but I did find some. I think Bob said he was willing to take the risk, as I recall.
Oh yeah.
Well,
We're not risk averse here.
No, we brought this can, the mock-up of this into the winery and shared it with some of our customers.
I remember when you were doing that.
And everybody just went bananas over it. They just said, "This is great. Of course you're going to do that. Why wouldn't you do that? Right. This is perfect." And then we talked a few times, and I remember you pointed out, and this really was what drove it home for me, was it's in a can, which is a very different container for a very different purpose than what is in the bottle. So there's no sense in trying to make the can follow the bottle. They're going to go in two different directions.
That's right. She had some versions of labels that were more bottle appropriate.
Yeah.
Sort of for wines, had that sort of classic higher.
Originally, that's the direction we were looking.
Because we were kind of, we're a winery, so we're sort
Yeah.
of thinking that. But this is a totally different type of package, and the product becomes a different purpose for the product. It's a can. You're grabbing a can of Dolgo and you're going out on your sailboat.
The thing is that the still wine and the carbonated wine are just two different animals. The Petit Blue really needs to go in a glass to be really well
It does. I agree.
And you can actually drink the Dolgo out of the can. I don't recommend it because it will
Get you in trouble.
Very dangerous.
Yeah, you will have a little bit of ethanol problem.
Well, you know how many people
out there in the ether.
You know how many people have come into the winery after having purchased a 4-pack of Dolgo, which, by the way, is two bottles of wine, and it's at 13% alcohol. So you pound one of these like a cider, and you are in immediate trouble, as we know Chuck is very familiar with.
Trouble.
You smile when you say
I know. Well, it's a good trouble.
It's a good trouble. He keeps going back for more.
We've got to look at this other label because the kind of the finale of the can label.
Yeah, here we go. So this is
the rosé.
The rosé. So we're going to bring that up.
Just awesome.
So talk about out of the box or out of the can. I had a hard time initially getting my head around the idea that our wine was represented
fish on the
by
label?
the fish at the bottom of the
Chuck
pond.
was a strong champion right out of the gate.
Yeah,
as soon as he saw that, he's like, we got to do the fish.
I love the fish. Yeah, well, there were a lot of good options on this one, though.
Again, there were a
bunch
lot
of great
of
ones.
good choices. I love the queen. You had I wish I could show them all, but it was like a queen-like character with a big voluptuous dress but anyway,
and the
Oh yes, the mermaid like.
or was that Petit Blue?
that was Petit Blue. Yeah.
Oh, that was Petit Blue. Petit Blue was the queen with the blueberry head.
Yeah.
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 That's a little creepy.
I saw something very similar at an art show this weekend. It was a leaf instead of a blueberry, but otherwise the same.
Well, again,
This one I did do one that had like a mermaid thing from like a 1940s. I think it was from might have even been from Lake Winnipesaukee. I remember that idea. Something I found, and then I adapted.
This one was inspired by another artist, right?
Yes, and now I can't remember who it was. It was a Danish. A Danish storybook.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I remember when we were
Right,
talking
there were
about
lily
that,
pads on top of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was hard for us to get our head around. I remember when you were first presenting these, Deb, and we were like, well, I don't know. Chuck really liked the fish, but both Bob and I were a little reluctant. But it stood out in the end, and once you acclimated to it, it was obviously a no-brainer. It was just such a great label, and it's really had great response from the public. People love it.
Yeah, super well done. Yeah.
Well,
So-
thank you. I mean, the whole category is so crazy right now, that
It
it
is.
kind of
Yeah.
gives a
Anybody
lot
at a beer store knows that.
So that's the final can labels. You can see the Dolgo is a little different than the one that I showed, and actually the Winnie Rosé is a little different too. The one that I showed didn't have the red lettering, the red outlines of the lettering.
Oh, yeah.
So, but these are the final cans, and this is the final collection of the first four anyway of bottles, and the first cider can story. So lots of fun stuff. So definitely, if you're in the winery, you should grab one of those cider bottles and read this story. Oh wait, I don't think I had those. I got to show those again because I was showing the wrong.
I can't see it.
There we go. So.
Oh yes, that looks great.
Yeah. So there's the four original ciders, and there's been two more since, and then the first can cider, and then here is the cans that we ended up with.
Right.
So they just look great. I love them. This has been a great partnership, to be sure.
It was fun to make the 4-packs too, so people could go away with one of each.
Yeah, we have a sampler pack.
Yeah, a little sampler pack
you can buy with you. Yes, you did the little sticker to go on the top for the samples. So.
That's right.
Yeah, that was a great idea to do that.
It was. It saved our butt because the problem when you have a 4-pack is each one has its own UPC code. So when you'd scan it, you'd get the price of a single can,
right,
and not a 4-pack.
Right.
Good deal.
Right.
Yeah,
Do that all day, right?
I keep wondering when we're going to get the call from the liquor. I shouldn't say that.
Stop.
So does anybody have any questions for Deb?
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody out there?
Change that subject.
Questions for Deb? Yes, good idea. There we go. Let's see. We'll check in with our audience here. Matt says, Winnie Rosé is crushable, but ill-advised. He says ill-advised, but I think he meant ill-advised when riding tandem.
Yeah.
Most assuredly,
or triple
Matt.
or quad even.
Riding anything.
Riding anything, yeah. Do not operate machinery.
Skiing, maybe, okay.
Do not operate machinery with any alcohol ever.
Wow. Janice says, but if you're an articulated bike for 4, 3 can pedal and the 4th can enjoy a crushable can or 2.
Well
I
said.
I like the way you think, Janice.
I'll
I bet you Matt likes the way you think too. And Janice is very pleased with your discussion and your comments, Deb.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So there it is.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so this is great. Thanks for coming on. And I'm dead serious, Deb.
Okay.
We need to work on a book.
Yeah, I can see it. Bob is hooked on something, Deb. When that happens, just
Well, and also, if I have a closing comment, is so Deb and Paul, our partner, came out, and we spent a couple of days in really deep, intense
that was incredible.
Think tank with them about our marketing and who we are and what we want to be.
Still don't know who we are.
And I know, but it was such a great life experience.
That was.
To have spent that time. I mean, there's no other venue that I would go down that road in that sort of creative way. I'm not naturally creative. I'm not involved in that sort of creativity. And it was really a great experience, and one that there's always echoing moments of that still affect me every day. So I just wanted to share that with you. It was really thank you for that experience. I was so happy that we're able to
He's thinking about the black cap chickadee every day.
It was the bird.
The bluebird, the owl. Yeah, that's like, well, what the heck? That was great. Really great.
Yeah, no, it's a great exercise, that one.
Yeah, well, that was a lot. It was a pretty intense day.
Completely different from crafting a cider. Just let me know. Just different process.
That was really interesting and fun, and so great to get to know you guys even better. I want to.
And I'm gonna sort of drop a little hint here, just to let the world know that Deb has or will be playing a big role in some of the future here at Hermit Woods, which we can't talk about yet. But we're really excited. Deb and her partner Paul came out, as Chuck just said, to help us think about some of the ideas for how Hermit Woods is going to evolve in the next couple of years. And so stay tuned, because I think we're probably going to have another conversation with Deb in a year or two to talk about all of that.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be fun. So really exciting, but I'm going to leave you hanging because we can't tell you any more. There's lots of rumors, but until we confirm them, they're just rumors. But
We should go have a beer or something.
so
What? Oh, sorry.
what? The show's almost over, guys.
Oh, okay.
Patience.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we do need to bring this to a close. We're past our hour. Deb, do you have any parting words before we finish up?
I have to get to the wine store.
There you go. Well, good. Sounds like these guys got to get to the beer store. So. We're all thinking the same way, aren't we?
Well,
So thank you so much, Deb, for joining us today.
right.
We're going to look forward to the future with you, whatever that might be, and look forward to having you back here at the winery sometime soon. And thank you all out there in the audience for staying with us today and the great comments and suggestions. And stay tuned for next Monday, which sounds like
Figured out?
might be an adventure, but we don't know yet
Figured
because
out?
it's to be determined. So stay tuned. Next Monday at 5:30, you will see the three of us gathering again around some beverage in some location where we will have some interesting
Some kind of
topics
fun.
to talk about.
It may be an articulating bike for four.
It may be an articulating bike for four. So,
I like that idea.
so thank you, everybody.
And a crushable beverage.
I'm gonna take us out now. We're gonna see you in a week, in 7 days. So thank you for joining us.
Right.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Cheers,
That way,
everybody.
this way, that way, that way, that way.
Salut.